The Wizard of Dizz is a two-part Mickey Mouse Clubhouse episode from the 4th season, and this obviously is based on The Wizard of Oz. And while I'm not a big fan of The Wizard of Oz itself, I do really enjoy parodies of The Wizard of Oz because I love seeing how different characters embody characters from the film. And I think some of the decisions were quite good. Donald's maybe not so much. I don't want to go into too much detail about which characters represent which characters from The Wizard of Oz, because for me that was part of the excitement. Watching this as a Disney fan, I was curious to see which characters they would choose for the Tin Man and the Lion and the Scarecrow, and also which character, of course, they'd choose for Dorothy. I will say Minnie takes on that role, and I think she suits it well. I think it was a very good decision. The ruby slippers are slightly different, but they do look very good and they do look very well animated. I think they've made them suitably sparkly. It works quite well. And you can probably guess who Toto is. That one definitely was quite obvious. But I thought it worked quite well. It's not identical to The Wizard of Oz, of course, but there are a lot of recognisable elements. The role of the witch, I thought, was pretty great. I can't say too much about who that character is, but if you've seen a previous episode of Clubhouse, a few before this, you may be able to work it out. It's not as dark as The Wizard of Oz, but Minnie still has to go on this journey to find the wizard, and she meets these new friends along the way, of course, being the Tin Man, the Lion, and the Scarecrow. And it's not as negative as, the Scarecrow having no courage and the Scarecrow not having any brains. It's not quite as negative as that. It is a lot more upbeat, a lot more brightly coloured, a lot more vibrant, and it is visually very appealing. So for me as a Disney fan, it worked really well. From the educational perspective, it's not quite as educational as some episodes of Clubhouse. Episodes of Clubhouse either go one way or the other. They're either very directly educational, teaching children about numbers, maths, patterns, the names of shapes, or they're more of a problem-solving, fantasy-based narrative, kind of like story time, where children listen and learn through comprehension rather than by being taught things directly. And this definitely falls into that category, and it works really well. It's a nice little story. If children have never heard of The Wizard of Oz, they may think it's quite peculiar, but it's a pretty decent introduction. All of the basic elements are there, with some twists, quite a few twists actually. But if children, of course, are familiar with the story of The Wizard of Oz, then I think it will be a very fun way to reimagine that narrative with classic popular Disney characters. There is a version of Toodles in the world of The Wizard of Dizz. There is a Toodles version there. They are still called Mouseketools. I think they could have changed that so that it was a little bit different. There was a bit of a more separate distinction. But it was interesting that they were still able to find a way to use the Mouseketools. It was very interesting. I thought, I was curious to see how they would do it. I think they handled it well. I think it was quite fascinating. It's not my personal favourite episode of The Wizard of Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, but it was fun, it was creative, visually it's very engaging. For children who like The Wizard of Oz, it is, as I said, a fun way to rediscover that. There are learning opportunities through problem solving and things. Definitely seems to be a very popular episode, and I can completely see why.